You're listening to Big World Network.
Incubus, Season 2, Episode 5, written and read by Amanda Meuwissen. The air rushed out of Nathan's lungs on impact, his head striking the far wall as a transformed Sasha rammed into him. His arms were pinned to his sides from the sheer force of Sasha's larger body against his, and one of Sasha's taloned hands had hold of his throat tight enough to choke. Sasha! Nathan tried, staring back into the snarling face of someone he had started to consider a friend, regardless of the fangs, horns, and blazing red eyes on occasion. Stop! You don't want to do this! It's me! Nathan tried to raise one of his hands, and was surprised to discover he could, meaning Sasha was giving him a little more breathing room. The sound of Nathan's voice seemed to make the beast pause. Yeah, Nathan said, forcing a smile and taking short gasps of air when the hand on his throat loosened. It's me, Nathan, he emphasized. See? You don't want to do this, right? Sasha's fangs were bared, his eyes wide and vibrant. In the next moment, Nathan found himself flat on his back on the floor, with Incubus Sasha planting a knee on either side of his hips. Okay, maybe you do want to do this. Nathan was not oblivious to the perils of his situation. Half of his mind was still on Jim and whatever the muses were doing to him on the other side of the door. His own situation was just as dire, and would require some very quick thinking if he wanted to do anything to help his brother, and if he wanted to avoid full-on molestation and possible death by a frenzied incubus. Sasha already had Nathan's wrists pinned above his head with one hand, while the other began to paw at his clothes. The quick-thinking part could begin any time now, Nathan thought. Any time. But all Nathan could think to do was struggle with all his strength to get away. Since Sasha's attention was focused on removing Nathan of his clothing, Nathan managed to free one of his arms and start twisting away, before unavoidably being caught again and pinned more firmly. That at least did the job of prolonging the inevitable. Sasha, stop! Nathan tried. His stomach gave a nasty flip at the feeling of Sasha's hips pressing down into his. As before, Nathan's voice made the incubus pause, but Nathan no longer assumed he could reason with Sasha just because there was some recognition. Look, Nathan said, staring up into crimson unflinchingly. Just look, okay? I know I'm damn sexy, and I can appreciate that you're really crazed for a fix right now, but my brother is outside that door with some very powerful she ready to do God knows what to him. Maybe we can help each other out. You want me? You can have me. But first, you have to help me get my brother away from the muses. How's that? The look on Sasha's face made Nathan quake. The incubus was not in his right mind, not any more than Nathan had been when he was touched by violence. This Sasha did not care about deals. He already had what he wanted, pinned and prone beneath him. Sasha returned his attention to Nathan's clothing, effectively slicing a claw down the front of Nathan's button-down shirt and popping the buttons off in a single swipe. Get off me! Nathan cried, struggling as much as he could to make things more difficult for his captor. God damn it, Sasha! We have to help Jim! Snap out of it! A snarl answered, menacing with warning. Suddenly, Nathan's wrists were released, only he didn't have time to celebrate before he felt the effects of why. Using both clawed hands, Sasha tore into Nathan's t-shirt beneath the button-down, ripping it apart like a rag, and taking half of Nathan's skin with the pieces of fabric. Nathan cried out at the sharp sting of pain. Get off! He said again, responding with a swinging fist that connected squarely with Sasha's jaw. He missed grazing Sasha's curling ram-like horns, but punching the incubus felt like hitting a brick wall. Sasha rebounded quickly, his growl no longer warning, but filled with promise. He lunged for Nathan's neck, digging fangs into the flesh beneath Nathan's ear and biting hard. Nathan felt a small trickle of blood seep from the wound as his vision blurred. His head felt heavy, clouded, as if the sting of fangs had been more like a pleasurable nibble at his neck. Maybe this isn't so bad, he thought. Nathan shook his head as that foreign idea washed over him, trying to shake Sasha off with it. His whole body felt heavier now. He was still feeling a little fuzzy and disoriented when Sasha pulled away from him, bending down to lick at the wounds he had created on Nathan's chest. Nathan's stomach lurched at the feeling. Sasha's hips were still pressing down on him, pinning Nathan's legs. Nathan remembered that, normally, Sasha had that convenient covering below the waist when he was in his incubus form. That wasn't the case right now. Nathan hissed as Sasha's tongue swiped languidly at one of his deeper cuts. The sensation was right on that borderline between pain and nauseating pleasure. It felt kind of good. No, Nathan shook his head again. He didn't understand what was wrong with him. Sasha was trying to mount him as he lay bleeding and pinned to the kitchen floor. There was no reason he should feel like he desired. Realization dawned on Nathan, and his eyes sprang wide, and not only because Sasha's tongue had started to travel below his navel. Pheromones. Carryover from Desire's touch couldn't be helping much either. Nathan flinched when Sasha started tugging at his jeans, but at least that left his upper body free. Even with his legs still mostly pinned, Nathan was able to slam his hips up into Sasha's face and twist onto his stomach. Sasha reared back, freeing Nathan as he started a desperate crawl. Nathan's bare, wounded chest rubbed painfully on the floor as he went. Sasha's shotgun was not far away, right where the incubus had dropped it. If Nathan could just get to it, he would stand a chance. He didn't want to kill Sasha, but if he could wound him enough to buy a little time, it would be worth it. Nathan lunged the last length forward to grab the gun and rolled onto its back. Sasha was standing, which left no more illusions as to whether or not that below-the-waist covering was gone. Without the covering, there were only the tattoos, and the tattoos went everywhere. The incubus's large talon-like hands flexed into fists. His powerful gargoyle feet left cracks in the linoleum as he stalked forward. A great roar left him, and his wings shot out behind him, extending to their full and glorious breadth. Nathan couldn't move. He didn't know if it was some effect of the pheromones, or if it was just that Sasha looked ready to storm over there and rip his head off. Neither would surprise him. As Sasha stomped closer, Nathan willed himself to ready the gun. He had to fire. He had to. Sasha roared once more, and Nathan pulled the trigger. At the same moment, Sasha's arm shot out, grabbing the gun and causing the shot to blow a hole in the ceiling above them. Sasha was on Nathan again in moments, ripping the gun from his hands and tossing it aside. Just as Sasha's claws had so easily turned Nathan's t-shirt into shreds, now they tore at the clasp of his jeans. With one more play to make Nathan submissive, Sasha straddled Nathan's hips, pressing down firmly so that Nathan's breath hitched in his throat. A clawed hand grabbed painfully at Nathan's hair and pulled him up into an angry, hungry kiss. Nathan sputtered and twisted, fighting fiercely to get away. This was not like their kiss in the alleyway. Nathan had to stop this. Somehow he had to escape. He had to stop Sasha and what was he doing? Jim. There was something about Jim, wasn't there? Nathan couldn't remember. He was with Sasha. Sasha was kissing him. Slow. Deep. Nathan felt a sting in his chest, but even that began to fade. He liked kissing Sasha. He had known that from the first moment their lips had touched back in Minnesota. So he started to kiss back, feeling the slight prick of fangs on his lips. He liked that, too. Nathan's hips bucked up into Sasha, and he felt the assurance of just how much Sasha wanted him. He wanted it, too. He wanted Sasha. He wanted... Nathan! He wanted... Nathan, are you okay? Nathan, answer me! Jim? Nathan! Jim! Nathan's eyes sprang open as his senses returned. Jim was calling for him. And this was so not happening. With every bit of strength left in him, Nathan pushed Sasha away, forcing a low grumble from the incubus at being denied yet again. Jim! Nathan called. Nathan! Thank God! What's happening in there? Sasha was having none of this, that's what. The incubus was tired of waiting for his prey to acquiesce. With a clawed hand gripping either side of Nathan's jeans, he pulled them down in a frenzied tug to Nathan's ankles, almost taking his shorts down with them. I'm gonna be fucked and filleted is what, and probably not in that order, Nathan yelled. Get the hell in here! I'm trying! The door's stuck! Jesus, Nathan thought, as Sasha pulled his body in tight against him. If this actually happened while Jim was on the other side of only a couple inches of that damn kitchen door, Nathan would not be able to stand it. Jim! Just stall him somehow! Sasha growled and reached between their bodies for Nathan's shorts. We're a little beyond that right now, Nathan cried. I'm thinking! Think faster! Walter appeared beside Nathan, whole, not even flickering, and tried to offer words of comfort that Jim would soon break through the door and save him. But the last thing Nathan wanted was to experience this with Walter watching. A few breathless moments passed. Nathan's head was in a complete haze. Half of his brain was focused entirely on Jim and getting out of this mess, but the other still reeled from the pheromones. He welcomed the heel of Sasha's palm pressing into him through his shorts, while his rational mind screamed toward the ceiling. Jim! Slam. If Nathan didn't know any better, he would swear the door just exploded. Jim rushed in, grabbing Sasha by the back of the neck faster than the Incubus could react, and pressing both hands tightly to his white skin. Sasha reared up off of Nathan, racked by tremors throughout his entire body, until he toppled over onto his side. Jim grabbed hold of Nathan then, carefully pulling him to a safe distance where he could rest against the wall. Nathan was grateful for the rescue, but found himself staring at Sasha as the Incubus's body continued to quake and morph slowly human. What did you do to him? Nathan asked. Jim smiled. Same thing I did to you, remember? I'm just glad it worked on him, too. Sasha had soon all but returned to normal, shaking and looking soaked with a thin sheen of sweat. His clothing rematerialized, but he looked pretty well wrecked. Jim went over to check on him and placed a gentle hand on the Incubus's back. Sasha, are you okay? Sasha's breathing was still heavy, and he gasped a few times before managing to look up, blinking at Jim as if not quite sure he recognized him. Jim? Yeah, Jim smiled. It's okay. Everything's okay now. Sasha nodded vacantly, but suddenly sat up, his eyes wild with panic. Nathan! He called, looking imploringly to Jim, before noticing the real thing slouched against the wall, still bleeding and half-clothed. Sasha scrambled to Nathan's side. Oh, God! What did I do? I never would have... Save it, Nathan said quickly, holding up a weary hand. That damn she did this to me, not you. But, Nathan... Hey, Nathan said more firmly. Do you want to ravage me against my will and leave me in dire need of stitches? Sasha looked affronted. Of course not. I would never... Exactly. I know that. You know that. Jim knows that. Even Walter knows that. So shut up. You don't owe me any apologies. I might accept a new outfit, though, Nathan added with a smirk. His current clothing was trashed. He also realized that his pants were still at his ankles, and the encounter had left him at least half-hard. There wasn't enough embarrassment in the world. You mind? Nathan said, holding an arm out to Sasha so the Incubus would help him stand. Sasha complied, and as soon as Nathan was on his feet, he reached down to pull his pants back up, favoring the hand that might not have any broken bones, but still hurt like hell after punching an Incubus. Nathan, please, Sasha tried again. I just feel like there's nothing I could ever say to... So don't. What have I been saying, huh? I don't need to hear this. Nathan had no trouble getting right in Sasha's face. He had used up all of his patience on Jim a long time ago. What happened was not Sasha's fault. They had been in an impossible situation. Nathan liked Sasha just as much as he had before this mess. He liked him plenty. More every day, even. And he was leaning in closer and closer to Sasha, with no thought at stopping himself. God, you smell good, Nathan said, breathing in that familiar scent as his face leaned up into Sasha's neck. Sasha's body went visibly rigid. Nathan? I'm thinking I must have really gotten you good with the pheromones, didn't I? Nathan snapped away from Sasha like he had been burned. Shit. Please tell me that's going to wear off. A nervous laugh fell from Sasha's lips, and he scratched the back of his head. Sure, he said. In about 24 hours. What? Actually, they're a little more potent when we're frenzied, so maybe longer. Well, that was just great, Nathan thought, with a deep scowl. Look, the important thing is that everyone is okay, right? Said Jim. Nathan turned to his brother with a ready comeback, but stopped short. Dude, how are we all okay? What do you mean? How? Nathan said again, glancing toward the remains of the door that he now realized Jim must have gone super strength Jim smash on to get it to explode open like that. There were weird sisters all over you. What happened? Oh, Jim said, looking somewhere between sheepish and terrified of being caught with his hand in the cookie jar. It's fine now. They're gone. Gone? Nathan repeated. Jim, 3 superpowered dark she and you. How are they just gone? Nathan turned without waiting for an answer, heading for the door that Jim had burst open. Despite the sting in his chest as air and the remains of his t-shirt struck against his skin, Nathan was fine. His ego was bruised more than anything. But there was no reason he should be fine. Sasha came up beside Nathan as they reached the door, having to step over some of the debris from Jim's entrance. There was nothing. No sign of the Muses at all. Nathan looked back at Jim, who still had that sheepish, scared look on his face. What did you do? Nathan asked. I don't know exactly, Jim said, but you're not going to believe it.
You're listening to Big World Network.